Batting isn't about the shot. It's about the state of mind. Every ball tests your control. Every mistake exposes your ego. You're not fighting the bowler, you're fighting yourself. The crowd, the pressure, the noise, they're all distractions. The real battle is silence. The greats don't chase runs. They create rhythm. They master stillness. This is not a book about cricket. It's a book about control, timing, and discipline. The three invisible forces that separate the reckless from the remarkable. Welcome to the art of batting. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Master the first ball. The first ball decides everything. Your rhythm. Your focus. Your future. Every time you walk up to the crease, whether it's on the field, in your career, or in life, there's that same invisible tension. Fear. Adrenaline. Expectation. You feel it in your chest, your hands, your breathing. But here's the truth. You're not reacting to the world, you're reacting to your own thoughts. The storm isn't out there. It's inside you. And if you don't control that first ball, it controls you. That's the law of performance. That's the law of composure. And that's where mastery begins. Most people swing too soon. They rush. They think speed is confidence. But speed is panic wearing a mask. When the first challenge appears, the undisciplined mind reacts. The disciplined mind waits. It breathes. It watches. It listens. Because the first ball isn't about runs, it's about control. Say it again. The first ball isn't about runs, it's about control. You don't need to prove anything on the first ball. You don't need to impress anyone. You need to find your rhythm. Because if you win the first moment, you win the momentum. Think about every great player you've ever seen. They walk to the crease slow. They take a breath. They tap the bat. They look around. They're not showing off. They're centering. That's not performance, it's ritual. And ritual is how champions tame chaos. Every movement before the first ball is a signal to the body. Stay calm. Stay here. Stay now. The amateurs rush into the storm. The masters control their weather. The first ball is not physical, it's psychological. You're not facing the bowler. You're facing yourself. Every thought in your head is a delivery. Every doubt is a spin. Every distraction is a bouncer. And if you start reacting to everything, you'll never build rhythm. That's why the pros don't chase outcomes. They chase timing. They know control creates flow. They know stillness creates power. Repeat this until it becomes your truth. The first ball isn't about runs, it's about control. Control starts with breath. Before you react, pause. Before you move, observe. Before you swing, breathe. That's the difference between chaos and composure. One acts out of emotion. The other acts out of awareness. You can't build greatness in reaction mode. You build greatness in reflection mode. A real batsman doesn't just see the ball. He feels the tempo. He lets the game slow down until everything is silent. That's control. That's presence. The same law applies everywhere. Before you reply to the insult. Before you rush into a decision. Before you let anger dictate your words. Remember the rule, the first ball isn't about runs, it's about control. Let's go deeper. The first ball represents the first moment in every challenge. The first meeting. The first conflict. The first failure. The first opportunity. And how you handle that first moment defines your trajectory. You don't need to win it, you need to own it. You don't need to react, you need to respond. Because composure in the first second writes confidence for the next 1,000. You might think control is natural. It's not. Control is a habit. And habits are trained through repetition. Every day life throws you a ball, sometimes fast, sometimes curved, sometimes wild. You can't control the bowler. You can't control the pitch. You can't control the crowd. But you can control you. And that's where true mastery begins, inside your response. When the world comes at you hard, don't swing blindly. Wait. Watch. See the pattern before you strike. Because the ones who dominate the game don't move faster, they move wiser. Here's a truth most people never understand. Rushing is fear disguised as action. People rush to avoid silence. They rush to escape doubt. They rush because they're terrified of stillness. But you can't build greatness by running from calm. You build it by mastering it. Every great player learns to make peace with pause. They understand that composure is not delay, it's dominance. The first ball isn't a test of technique. It's a test of temperament. It asks, can you stay still when everything inside you screams to swing? That's what separates the impulsive from the intentional. When the bowler runs up, he's testing your mind. He's asking you, will you react to me or will you control yourself? And life does the same thing every day. You get tested through pressure, distractions, criticism. Through people who try to provoke you. Through moments that demand you abandon your rhythm. And each time you have a choice. Do you swing wildly? Or do you breathe, center, and wait for your ball? Say it again. The first ball isn't about runs, it's about control. Because the world is always watching how you handle the first moment. Not what you say, but how steady you are. Not how loud, but how calm. Calm is command. Calm is power. Calm is respect. Here's your instruction. Tomorrow morning, before you start your day, pause. Breathe. Visualize that first ball. Don't rush into your messages, your worries, your noise. Wait. And when you move with rhythm, not reaction. That's control training. That's mental batting practice. You're not just training your game, you're training your mind to own the moment. Every great innings begins with a breath, not a swing. And every great life begins with a calm mind, not a chaotic one. Repeat it one last time. The first ball isn't about runs, it's about control. Control the first moment and you'll control the match. Lose it, and the game controls you. The choice is always yours. That's the key. You've learned the power of the first ball, the mastery of patience, rhythm, and breath. You've learned to own the moment before it owns you. Now that you've built control, it's time to build discipline. Because rhythm means nothing without restraint. Chapter 2. Stop chasing every delivery. You don't need to hit every ball. You don't need to prove something on every pitch. You don't need to move every time life moves. That's not power. That's panic. And panic is what destroys potential. The greats don't chase every delivery, they choose their delivery. Because chasing is emotional. Waiting is strategic. You can't master the game if you're busy reacting to every noise, every opinion, every chance that looks too good to miss. Discipline isn't about doing more. It's about doing less, with intention. Say it with me. I don't chase. I choose. The amateur thinks effort equals success. He believes that swinging harder, faster, more often will bring results. But he doesn't realize, every unnecessary swing drains energy, confidence, and rhythm. That's how life works too. You chase every opportunity. You say yes to everything. You respond to everyone. And before long you're exhausted, not from work, but from waste. Because the truth is, you don't lose focus overnight. You lose it one unnecessary reaction at a time. You scatter your energy trying to hit everything that comes at you, forgetting that not every ball is meant to be played. That's the key. Not every ball deserves your attention. The disciplined batsman knows the difference between temptation and timing. The weak swing at everything that looks close. The wise wait for the one that's meant for them. And that's life's ultimate test. Can you resist reacting? You don't need to prove your worth through motion. You prove it through mastery. Through selection. Through silence. When you chase everything, you become predictable. When you choose selectively, you become dangerous. The bowler's job is to make you react. That's his game, deception. He wants you to commit early. To bite at the bait. Life plays the same trick. It sends distractions that look like opportunities. It sends opinions that sound like truth. It throws chaos dressed as urgency. And you, if you're undisciplined, start swinging at shadows. You reply to the hate. You argue with the noise. You waste your strike on the wrong battles. That's how you lose. Not by being weak, but by being busy. So remember this law. You can't hit every ball and expect to score big. You score by choosing your shot. You build power by holding back. You win by not reacting. In life, restraint looks like this. You don't respond to every insult. You don't accept every invitation. You don't jump on every trend. You wait. You watch. You move when it matters. Because movement without purpose isn't momentum, it's madness. When you start filtering your reactions, everything changes. Your energy stabilizes. Your mind sharpens. Your confidence grows. You start realizing, peace isn't found in more action. It's found in controlled action. Say it again. I don't chase. I choose. Every batsman remembers the day he learned restraint. That moment when he stopped trying to impress the crowd and started playing for himself. That's when his game elevated. In life, your turning point will be the same. The day you stop chasing validation and start building value. You don't need applause to confirm your focus. You need silence to sharpen it. And silence terrifies the undisciplined. They can't handle the space between moments. They can't handle not reacting. But you, if you want mastery, must live in that space. Because the pause between deliveries is where greatness breathes. You'll hear people say, stay hungry. But remember, hunger without direction is chaos. You can't eat everything. You can't do everything. You can't be everywhere. Hunger must be guided by patience. Otherwise it becomes greed. And greed always swings too early. So when you feel that pull, that urge to jump, to act, to chase, breathe. Ask yourself, is this my shot or is this just noise? If it's not yours, let it go. Because restraint isn't weakness. It's precision. And precision is what separates players from professionals. You'll start noticing something powerful when you stop chasing. Life slows down. You see patterns. You read people. You predict outcomes. You stop being reactive and start being aware. That's when you move with intelligence, not emotion. And that's when you start controlling the game. Because in every field, sports, business, relationships, mastery, the one who controls the pace controls the result. The undisciplined mind reacts to the world. The disciplined mind sets its rhythm. You have to choose your rhythm before the world chooses it for you. That's your freedom. That's your power. Let me be clear, not chasing doesn't mean not acting. It means acting with clarity. You still strike. You still attack. But only when it's your ball, the one that aligns with your purpose, your timing, your plan. That's strategy. That's control. The crowd may boo your patience. The critics may question your silence. But the scoreboard will prove your wisdom. Because the game isn't about noise, it's about numbers. And numbers come from discipline. Here's your mental drill. Tomorrow, when the world throws distractions your way, pause. When someone provokes you, don't react. When an opportunity arrives that feels forced, breathe before you agree. Remember, not everything deserves your energy. Your energy is your bat. And every swing should mean something. Because mastery isn't built on reaction, it's built on rhythm. Say it once more. I don't chase. I choose. You don't need their permission to wait. You don't need their validation to pause. You just need your focus to know when it's time to strike. And when that ball finally comes, when it's your moment, you won't just hit it. You'll own it. You've learned the art of restraint, the power of not chasing. You've learned that patience isn't passive, it's the foundation of control. Now that you've built rhythm and patience, it's time to build precision. Because once you stop chasing, you must learn where to strike with full force. Chapter 3, Play your shot with purpose. You've learned to wait. Now it's time to strike. Because patience without purpose is just delay. And every disciplined player knows this. When your moment comes, hesitation is the enemy. You don't get a second chance at your shot. You get one swing. And that swing defines your inning, sometimes your entire career. So when your ball arrives, you don't question. You commit. Completely. That's the key. When you swing, swing with purpose. Let's be clear, power doesn't come from movement. It comes from meaning. You can hit 100 balls with no intent and achieve nothing. But one perfectly timed shot, played with conviction, can change everything. That's how life works. People chase opportunities without aim, burn energy without direction, and then wonder why they feel stuck. You're not meant to chase, you're meant to choose and commit. Say it with me. I don't swing at noise. I swing at purpose. Purpose is what gives your action force. It's what turns ordinary effort into impact. It's what separates the professional from the amateur. The amateur acts to be seen. The professional acts to make a mark. The amateur plays to survive. The professional plays to define the game. You have to decide, are you just playing or are you building something? Because if your actions don't connect to something bigger than your ego, they'll collapse the moment you face pressure. Purpose doesn't crumble under pressure. It sharpens because of it. Every great batsman knows, the best shots are intentional. They're not impulsive. They're not random. They're rehearsed. They're owned. When Sachin faced the ball, when Kohli locked eyes with the bowler, they weren't reacting. They were executing. Their body knew what their mind had already decided. And that's what you must train. Alignment between intention and action. You don't just move. You mean it. You don't just act. You own it. That's mastery. Let's bring this beyond cricket. Let's bring it to life. When you decide to speak, mean every word. When you commit to a task, finish it completely. When you build something, build it as if it will outlast you. Don't just show up. Show purpose. Because most people confuse activity with achievement. They confuse noise with progress. They think being busy means being productive. It doesn't. You can be moving fast and still going nowhere. That's not progress. That's panic disguised as work. The disciplined don't move for movement's sake. They move with meaning. And meaning is what multiplies impact. Here's the truth. Purpose transforms average effort into power. Without it, your energy leaks through distraction. With it, your focus becomes a weapon. You stop wasting time trying to look productive. You start being effective. You stop doubting every decision. You start owning your direction. Because purpose gives clarity. And clarity gives speed. When you know why you're doing it, hesitation disappears. You don't need motivation when you have purpose. That's the secret. Motivation fades. Purpose fuels. Motivation is emotional. Purpose is structural. Motivation pushes you once. Purpose keeps you moving daily. So ask yourself, why are you swinging? If your answer isn't powerful, you'll lose power when life tests you. If you're playing for applause, you'll quit when the crowd goes silent. If you're working for approval, you'll break when rejection arrives. But if you're driven by purpose, by something internal, unshakable, you'll stay steady no matter what comes. That's how champions are built. Listen carefully, every disciplined swing has a reason behind it. And the reason is always stronger than the reward. You don't train just to score. You train because discipline itself is the score. You don't swing just to win. You swing because mastery demands it. You don't show up for recognition. You show up because that's who you are, consistent, prepared, unshaken. It's not about glory. It's about standard. That's what separates the greats. That's why their names echo long after the match ends. Because purpose leaves a legacy. Performance without purpose fades fast. Here's what playing your shot with purpose looks like. You know your plan. You trust your preparation. You stay unbothered by noise. You see the ball. You breathe. You swing. No panic. No overthinking. Just pure execution. Every move deliberate. Every decision calm. Every result secondary, because purpose isn't about outcome, it's about ownership. You can't control where the ball lands, but you can control how you swing. And that control, that focus, is your true freedom. The weak chase luck. The strong build purpose. The weak wait for the right moment. The strong make it right by how they show up. You have to be the kind of person who doesn't need conditions to perform. You create your own conditions through clarity. That's the difference between a player and a professional. A player reacts to opportunity. A professional prepares for it. And when it comes, he doesn't flinch, he delivers. That's you now. You're not waiting. You're not guessing. You're moving with meaning. Here's your next drill. Before you take your next swing, in the field, in life, in business, stop and ask yourself 3 questions. 1. Why this shot? 2. Why now? 3. What's the consequence if I miss? If you can't answer those, don't swing. Because every undisciplined move costs something, energy, focus, or reputation. But when you move with purpose, even your misses teach you something. That's growth. That's mastery. You've learned to wait. You've learned to choose. Now you've learned to play with purpose. That's the foundation of every great batsman and every great mind. Because purpose turns patience into progress. And progress turns discipline into destiny. Say it one more time. I don't swing at noise. I swing at purpose. You don't need their permission to act. You don't need their praise to perform. You just need your purpose and the courage to stand by it. You've learned how to swing with clarity. Now it's time to learn how to recover when you miss, because even purpose-driven players fall. And how you rise defines everything. Chapter 4, The Bounce Back, Turning Failure into Fuel. You will fall. You will miss. You will fail. No matter how good you are, no matter how prepared, failure is part of the field. The question isn't if you'll fall. It's what you'll do next. That's where the great ones separate themselves. Because failure doesn't break the disciplined. It builds them. Say it with me. I don't fear failure. I feed on it. The amateur takes failure personally. He sees it as proof that he's not good enough. The professional takes failure professionally. He studies it. He learns from it. He converts it into power. You have a choice, to drown in defeat or to dissect it. That's the key. Every missed shot, every wrong decision, every setback, it's data. It's feedback from reality. It's the world showing you exactly what needs work. And when you understand that, failure stops being emotional. It becomes strategic. Think about it. Every legend you admire has failed more than they've succeeded. Kohli's dismissals, Dhoni's losses, Tendulkar's near misses, they've all walked off the field beaten, embarrassed, broken. But here's what they all did: they walked back in. They didn't let the noise define them. They didn't let doubt derail them. They went back to the nets, studied their mistakes, rebuilt their rhythm. That's what you must do. You fall. You analyze. You adjust. And then you rise, stronger, sharper, and hungrier. Because that's how champions are made. Failure has two voices. One whispers, "You're done." The other whispers, "You're not done yet." The voice you choose decides your story. The weak listen to the first. The disciplined answer the second. And when they do, something powerful happens. The same event that broke others becomes the fuel that drives them forward. That's how you weaponize failure. Let's make it practical. You get bowled out early, what do? You can throw your bat and curse your luck. Or you can slow down, replay the delivery in your mind and find the truth. Maybe your footwork was off. Maybe your focus slipped for 1 second. Maybe you didn't read the length. Whatever it is, it's not personal. It's technical. And once you fix the technique, the failure disappears. It's the same in life. You fail a project, lose a job, or face rejection. Don't take it as judgment. Take it as instruction. The world isn't punishing you. It's pointing you toward mastery. Most people waste failure. They hide it. They run from it. They pretend it didn't happen. But the disciplined study it. They write it down. They reflect. They ask, what can this teach me about me? Because behind every failure lies the seed of self-awareness. And self-awareness is the foundation of greatness. You can't improve what you refuse to confront. That's the truth most avoid. You don't grow by avoiding pain. You grow by understanding it. When failure hits, your emotions will scream. You'll feel shame, anger, doubt, frustration. That's normal. But you must not react to those emotions. You must regulate them. Take 3 deep breaths. Let logic lead emotion. Then ask, what's the lesson? That's discipline. That's power. Because emotional recovery is what keeps your rhythm alive. Anyone can play well when things go right. Few can rebuild when everything falls apart. That's where your real strength shows. Remember this. Failure isn't the opposite of success, it's the process of it. No player becomes elite without losing. No business thrives without setbacks. No mind becomes strong without pressure. Pressure is a privilege. Failure is feedback. And recovery is your responsibility. The faster you bounce back, the longer you last. It's not about being perfect. It's about being persistent. Here's your mental shift. Stop asking, why did this happen to me? Start asking, what can I build from this? Every fall builds muscle. Every mistake builds intelligence. Every loss builds patience. But only if you stay long enough to extract the lesson. You can't bounce back if you keep replaying the fall. You have to release it. You have to say, that happened. It's done. I'm back. And then you go again. The crowd will remember your failure longer than your success. That's their habit. But your job isn't to prove them wrong. It's to prove yourself stronger. You don't need their forgiveness. You need your focus. When they see you return, calm, silent, and relentless, they'll understand. You didn't lose. You learned. You didn't fall apart. You forged armor. And that armor is built only through experience, through the battles you survived when no one believed you would. Here's your bounce-back ritual. 1. Reflect. Don't react. 2. Write the lesson. 1 line. 1 truth. 3. Rebuild your rhythm. Get back to the nets, in the gym, in your work, in your craft. Do it quietly. Do it consistently. Do it until failure becomes fuel. You don't need a crowd to restart. You just need a decision. That's the power of a disciplined mind. It turns pain into progress without permission. Say it with me. I don't fear failure. I feed on it. Every setback has one message: rise smarter. Every loss has one gift: clarity. Every fall has one mission: rebuild stronger. That's how champions evolve. That's how purpose survives pressure. That's how you grow unstoppable. Because failure doesn't define you. Your response does. You've learned how to wait. You've learned how to swing with purpose. And now you've learned how to rise when that purpose is tested. The disciplined don't avoid failure. They use it as proof that they're still in the game. Now it's time to sharpen your most dangerous skill, focus. Because once you rise, distractions will come from every side. And only focus will keep you consistent. Chapter 5. The Power of Focus, Guarding Your Mental Crease. Every great innings has one thing in common: focus. Not talent, not luck, not chance. Focus. It's the invisible discipline that separates the distracted from the dominant. Because the truth is, the world doesn't destroy your game. Distraction does. And here's the thing about distraction: it doesn't announce itself. It sneaks in, quietly, through your phone, through gossip, through opinions, through noise. You think you're still on the pitch, but mentally you've already left. You can't win when your mind is divided. You can't build rhythm when your attention is scattered. You can't dominate when you're busy checking who's watching. Every time you look away, you lose power. Every time you react to noise, you lose rhythm. Say it out loud. I guard my mental crease. Because that's where the game is truly played, not out there but in here. The greatest players, the calmest minds, they don't think less. They think better. They filter. They focus. They decide what deserves their attention and what doesn't. When the crowd shouts, they don't hear noise, they hear nothing. When critics speak, they don't argue, they stay silent. When chaos rises, they breathe slower. That's mastery. That's control. That's what it means to guard your mental crease. You see, focus isn't about staring harder. It's about eliminating distractions before they touch you. The amateur reacts to everything. The disciplined reacts to almost nothing. And that's why you must treat your focus like oxygen. Protect it, prioritize it, and never share it with the undeserving. Because every small distraction costs energy. And the more energy you leak, the weaker your performance becomes. It's not about time management. It's about attention management. You get what you give attention to. Focus is the foundation of confidence. When you know exactly what matters, doubt dies. You stop questioning your ability. You stop overthinking outcomes. You move, precise, present, powerful. The disciplined mind doesn't live in the future or the past. It lives in the moment of execution. You're not thinking about the last ball. You're not worrying about the next. You're fully alive in this one, this single sacred delivery in front of you. That's focus. That's presence. That's power. The world will always try to pull you out of that state. It will tempt you with noise, attention, and approval. It will test your patience. But remember, you don't need to respond to everything. Silence is a form of strength. The disciplined don't chase validation, they chase improvement. You don't need their applause. You don't need their permission. You need your purpose, and your purpose needs your focus. Every distraction is a thief. It steals your seconds, your strength, your sharpness. But you let it in. The algorithm wants your time. The world wants your reaction. But your mission, your innings, demands solitude. You cannot focus if you cannot be alone. You cannot create clarity if you're addicted to noise. Solitude isn't punishment. It's preparation. That's where you sharpen your blade. That's where you build your mental armor. That's where you find your true rhythm, the rhythm that no one else can break. Let's make it practical. Step 1. Identify your distractions. What pulls you away from your path? Is it your phone? A person? A thought? Write it down. Call it out. Step 2. Set mental boundaries. When you step up, to play, to work, to train, everything else fades. You are here, fully. Step 3. Recenter through breath. Every time your mind drifts, inhale for 3 counts, exhale for 3 counts. Bring your awareness back to the crease, the present. You don't control everything, but you control your focus. And that's everything. Focus is the weapon of the few. Most people can't hold it for more than a minute. That's why mediocrity multiplies, and mastery remains rare. Focus turns talent into consistency. Focus turns chaos into clarity. Focus turns moments into mastery. When you guard your mental crease, the world slows down. The noise fades. And every decision becomes deliberate. That's when you stop reacting and start commanding. Here's what no one tells you. Focus is tiring. Discipline is lonely. But so is greatness. And the moment you accept that truth, that your focus will isolate you, you step into a different level of control. People won't understand your silence. They'll call you obsessed. They'll call you cold. Let them. Obsession is the price of clarity. And clarity is the foundation of freedom. You can't live on purpose if you're living for distraction. Every ball, every breath, every second, Ask yourself, where is my focus right now? If it's on the noise, you're losing. If it's on the mission, you're winning. Focus is the scoreboard of the disciplined mind. And when you master it, you don't just play the game, you control it. You decide the pace. You decide the response. You decide what matters. That's real dominance, the kind that can't be shaken by chaos or comments or critics. Repeat this until it becomes truth. My focus is my fortress. I guard my mental crease. No matter what happens, the noise, the pressure, the expectation, you stay here. In control. In rhythm. In discipline. Because that's what separates a player from a performer. That's what turns potential into presence. And that's what builds legacy. You've learned how to rise after failure. Now you've learned how to hold focus once you rise. The next step is to harness that focus and turn it into momentum, the kind that doesn't stop, doesn't slow, and doesn't need motivation. Because once focus becomes flow, discipline becomes effortless. Chapter 6, Flow State, when discipline becomes instinct. There's a moment in every master's journey when thinking stops, when effort disappears, when time dissolves, and what's left is flow. You stop forcing it. You stop chasing it. You just become it. That's the flow state, the place where discipline transforms into instinct, where repetition becomes rhythm, where control becomes creation. It's not luck. It's not magic. It's the reward for those who stayed consistent long enough to stop trying. You don't enter flow by accident. You earn it. You earn it through repetition, through patience, through hours of unseen practice when no one's watching. The undisciplined chase flow for moments. The disciplined build it for life. Because flow doesn't come from motivation, it comes from mastery. You can't fake it. You can't buy it. You can only earn it through commitment that never wavers. Let's make this clear. Flow isn't the absence of discipline. It's the evolution of it. At first, you force yourself to focus. Then focus becomes natural. Then natural becomes effortless. That's flow. Not the beginner's hype, the master's calm. It's not excitement. It's precision. It's not chaos. It's control. It's the quiet confidence that comes from thousands of deliberate repetitions. Think of the greats. Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, Steve Smith. When they're informed, they're not guessing. They're not thinking. They're flowing. The ball slows down. The mind sharpens. The body responds before the brain commands. That's flow, total unity between intention and execution. It's not about talent. It's about training the body and mind to move as one. You've seen it in athletes, in artists, and soldiers. The world slows down for them because they've trained their rhythm into silence. That's mastery. That's what you're chasing. But here's the truth. Most people never reach flow because they quit in the boredom phase. The phase between effort and instinct. The phase where it's not exciting anymore but not automatic yet. That's where champions are built. That's where 99% stop and the 1% begin. Because discipline is not glamorous. It's repetition. It's routine. It's doing the same thing again and again until your brain stops resisting it. And when that happens, the resistance fades. Effort becomes ease. Action becomes automatic. That's when flow begins. You don't think about the ball. You see it. You don't calculate your swing. You feel it. You don't react to noise. You move through it. Because you've already built the system. And now the system runs itself. That's what the undisciplined never understand. Flow is freedom. But freedom demands structure. Without structure, you have chaos. With structure, you create art. Let's break it down into real practice. Step 1. Routine builds rhythm. Create a pre-performance ritual. The same way every time, same breath, same setup, same cue. Why? Because repetition creates familiarity. And familiarity creates flow. Step 2. Focus on process, not outcome. Flow dies when you think about results. It lives when you surrender to the present moment. Say it again, this moment is all that exists. Step 3. Trust your training. You already prepared. You already earned it. Now get out of your own way. Let your instincts take over. You can't think your way into flow. You can only train your way there. The flow state feels like magic, but it's not mystical. It's mechanical. It's the byproduct of deep discipline and complete trust. When you trust your discipline, your fear disappears. When fear disappears, your confidence awakens. And when confidence aligns with calm, you enter flow. It's not adrenaline. It's awareness. It's not hype. It's harmony. That's why true masters look emotionless in their zone. They're not cold. They're clear. They're connected. They've entered the rarest place on earth, a mind without friction. Here's what kills flow: overthinking, multitasking, and chasing perfection. The moment you start analyzing mid-action, you break rhythm. You fall out of the zone. So, stop chasing control during performance. Train in control. Perform in freedom. That's the paradox. You train with logic, but you perform with instinct. When you're in the zone, you don't need motivation. You become momentum. You don't need to remind yourself to focus. You are focus. That's what flow feels like. Pure, effortless precision. Understand this. Flow isn't a one-time event. It's a way of operating. You can live like this every day. Focused, calm, creative, unshaken. But only if you keep your habits sacred. You protect your rhythm. You don't let noise enter your system. If you lose your structure, you lose your flow. So guard your discipline, because it's the foundation of your freedom. When you find flow, everything changes. Your performance, your confidence, your energy. You stop burning out because you stop forcing outcomes. You start working with life, not against it. You start seeing opportunities, not problems. You start playing, not surviving. That's when the game slows down. That's when your instincts take over. That's when the world watches and calls it talent. But you know the truth. It wasn't talent. It was training. It was time. It was thousands of disciplined days that no one saw. That's what flow rewards, the unseen work. So the next time you step up, in sport, in business, in life, remember this. You don't need to get in the zone. You need to stay consistent until the zone finds you. Flow is not a chase. It's a consequence. You don't enter it by effort. You enter it by trust. You don't command it. You allow it. And once you taste it, once you know what it feels like to move without thought, to act without fear, you'll never go back. Because that's where mastery lives. That's where greatness breathes. Repeat this truth. Discipline builds flow. Flow builds freedom. When your discipline becomes instinct, you're unstoppable. You don't react, you respond. You don't hesitate, you move. You don't play the game, you become the game. That's flow. That's mastery. That's the mind of a champion. You've now learned how to find your rhythm, the zone where everything slows down. Next, we go deeper, into what keeps that rhythm alive when everything around you falls apart. Chapter 7. Pressure is a privilege, turning stress into strength. Pressure. It's the invisible weight that breaks the weak and forges the strong. Everyone says they want success. Everyone says they want greatness. But when the lights turn on, when the crowd watches, when the moment arrives, most people crumble. Because they never learned how to carry pressure. They never learned that pressure isn't the enemy. It's the entry fee to mastery. Pressure is not punishment. Pressure is feedback. It's life asking, how much can you handle? And your answer determines your future. You see, the greatest performers, athletes, entrepreneurs, soldiers, they don't run from stress. They reframe it. To them, pressure means purpose. It means the moment matters. It means the stage is set for growth. That's why Roger Federer called it a privilege. Because you only feel pressure when you're in the game. You only feel it when you matter. But most people don't understand that. They fight pressure instead of mastering it. They wish it away, saying, I just want peace. I just want things to be easy. Easy doesn't build character. Easy doesn't sharpen the edge. Easy makes you soft. Pressure builds diamonds. Pressure hardens steel. Pressure brings out truth. You have a choice always. You can complain about the weight or you can get stronger under it. That's the key. Let's break this down. Pressure has 3 stages: fear, focus, and flow. At first, it creates fear. Your body tightens, your breathing shortens, your thoughts scatter. You panic. You freeze. But if you don't run, if you stay in the discomfort, something shifts. You stop fighting it. You start focusing. Your senses heighten. Your awareness deepens. You get sharp. That's the second stage, focus. And if you stay there long enough, something magical happens. You enter flow. Your training takes over. You stop thinking. You just move. That's what pressure does when you learn to trust it. It transforms chaos into clarity. So how do you master pressure? You prepare for it. You invite it. You practice under it. You simulate it before it happens. You don't avoid the hard moments. You seek them. You add difficulty on purpose. You train your nervous system to stay calm under intensity. When others relax, you tighten your focus. When others panic, you breathe slower. You don't control pressure by removing it. You control it by rising with it. That's the discipline. That's what separates the great from the average. Here's the mindset shift that changes everything. Pressure doesn't mean something's wrong. Pressure means something's real. If you're nervous before a match, before a speech, before a big move, it means it matters. It means your system is ready to perform. The disciplined mind doesn't silence that feeling. It channels it. Pressure is just energy, and energy can be directed. The weak panic because they misread energy as danger. The strong harness it as fuel. That's the difference. That's why discipline wins. Think about this. When a soldier walks into battle, do you think he feels no fear? Of course he does. But he's trained to act in spite of it. When a surgeon faces a critical operation, her hands still sweat. But she breathes, focuses, and executes because she's trained under pressure. When a batter faces a last-over chase, heart pounding, crowd roaring, he doesn't run. He locks in. He embraces the moment. Because he knows, pressure doesn't break you, it reveals you. It shows you whether you've been faking confidence or building competence. You don't escape pressure. You become equal to it. You meet it with preparation. You meet it with calm. You meet it with trust in your work. That's how champions move. They don't beg for lighter loads, they build stronger backs. Remember this truth. Pressure doesn't crush you when your foundation is discipline. When your routines are strong, your emotions can't hijack you. When your focus is trained, chaos can't distract you. When your standards are high, failure can't define you. That's why you train daily. That's why you repeat. That's why you build rhythm even when no one's watching. Because when pressure arrives, you'll fall to the level of your preparation. Not your potential. Not your motivation. Your preparation. Here's how to start mastering it. Step 1. Breathe. When pressure spikes, oxygen drops. Take slow, controlled breaths. You can't think clearly without air. Step 2. Simplify. Under pressure, complexity kills performance. Pick one focus point, one target, one move, one action. Step 3. Reframe. Don't say, I'm nervous. Say, I'm ready. It's the same energy, you're just directing it differently. Step 4. Reflect. After the storm, study it. Ask yourself, what worked? What broke? That's how pressure becomes a teacher, not a trauma. Understand this, pressure is a mirror. It shows you what you really believe about yourself. If you think you're not enough, it will expose that. If you think you are ready, it will confirm that. That's why every high-stakes moment is a test, not of talent, but of trust. Do you trust your training? Do you trust your discipline? Do you trust yourself? If the answer is yes, then pressure becomes your ally. It becomes your spotlight. It becomes the moment you were built for. You have to stop running from hard. Stop wishing life was easier. Start wishing you were stronger. That's the key. Because pressure is never going away. If you want a bigger life, you'll face bigger pressure. That's the price of elevation. That's the currency of greatness. The difference is, the weak avoid it. The disciplined absorb it. And the masters? They thrive on it. Repeat this until it's tattooed in your mind. Pressure is a privilege. Pressure is power. Pressure is proof that I'm growing. Every time your heart races, every time your hands shake, every time you feel fear. Remember, this is not the enemy. This is the signal. This is the call. This is life testing your strength. So breathe, focus, execute. Because pressure isn't the end of calm, it's the beginning of greatness. You've learned to use pressure as power, to turn fear into focus. Now, let's talk about the force that sustains this mastery over time, the art of recovery and rhythm. Chapter 8. Rest like a warrior, the discipline of recovery. The world glorifies hustle. It worships sleepless nights and endless grind. People brag about how tired they are, as if exhaustion is a badge of honor. But let me tell you a secret. Real warriors don't burn out. They refuel. Discipline isn't only about working hard. It's about knowing when to step back, when to rebuild, when to breathe. Because if you don't control your recovery, your exhaustion will control you. We live in a world that moves fast, faster than our hearts can handle. Notifications, deadlines, expectations. Everyone's running, but few know where they're going. The disciplined mind moves differently. It doesn't chase pace, it controls rhythm. Rhythm is what separates consistency from collapse. It's what turns stress into strength. And rhythm only exists when rest is part of the plan. Look at nature, it's the best teacher. Even the strongest ocean waves retreat before they rise again. Even the sun sets before it burns another day. Why? Because everything powerful has a rhythm. Expansion, contraction, push, recover, fight, heal. You cannot grow if you never recharge. You cannot stay sharp if you never rest your blade. Rest is not weakness. It's wisdom. There's a phrase I want you to remember. Rest like it's part of the mission. Because it is. The mission isn't to do more. The mission is to last longer. If you crash halfway up the mountain, what was the point of sprinting the first half? Every great fighter knows, recovery isn't optional. It's a weapon. They sleep with purpose. They stretch with intention. They eat, breathe, and meditate like their next battle depends on it. Because it does. But most people don't rest. They escape. They scroll. They binge. They numb. That's not rest. That's avoidance. Real rest is active. It recharges the mind. It repairs the body. It resets the soul. When you rest right, you come back sharper. When you rest wrong, you come back slower. So ask yourself, are you recovering or just hiding from the grind? Let's break it down, the 3 levels of recovery. Level 1, physical rest. This is the foundation. Your body is your vehicle, and every machine needs maintenance. Sleep isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Aim for quality, not just hours. No screens before bed. Stretch, breathe, hydrate. Let your body repair the damage you did chasing greatness. When you sleep, your brain cleans itself. Your muscles rebuild. Your energy resets. You can't out-discipline biology. You can only align with it. Level 2, mental rest. This is where most people fail. Because they think stopping work equals peace. But peace isn't the absence of work, it's the presence of clarity. You can't rest if your mind is still racing. You can't relax if you're replaying your failures. Mental rest comes from space, from silence. Turn off the noise. Take a walk without music. Meditate. Journal. Detach from results for a while. Remember, clarity doesn't come from overthinking. It comes from emptying. That's why the disciplined mind practices stillness, not laziness but awareness. Level 3, spiritual rest. This is the deepest level. It's when you reconnect with why you started. Every warrior needs a reason beyond winning. Because victory without purpose is just noise. Spiritual rest is when you step back from performance. And remind yourself who you are without the titles, without the chase. It's when you breathe gratitude. When you see beauty again. When you realign your mission with meaning. That's what keeps you grounded when success tries to make you forget yourself. Understand this truth. You don't grow during the grind. You grow during recovery. The muscle doesn't get stronger when you lift. It gets stronger after you lift. Growth happens in the gap between stress and rest. That's why rest isn't the opposite of discipline. It's a part of it. If you refuse to rest, you're not disciplined, you're addicted to motion. And addiction is the opposite of mastery. Every soldier knows this law. The calm between battles defines how you fight the next one. If you recover poorly, you repeat mistakes. If you recover deeply, you return wiser. So rest intentionally. Sleep early. Disconnect often. Reflect regularly. Don't wait until your body collapses or your mind breaks. Rest before you're forced to. Because recovery by choice is power. Recovery by burnout is pain. And don't let social media fool you. The highlight reels you see, the grind never stops slogans, those are illusions. The truth? Even lions rest. Even rockets pause before takeoff. Even machines need downtime. You are no different. Your value doesn't decrease when you stop. Your worth doesn't fade when you rest. In fact, that's when your mind sharpens. Your purpose clears. And your next move becomes obvious. Remember this. Rest is part of training. Rest is a skill. Rest is discipline. Anyone can push. Few can pause. Only the wise can balance both. So the next time you feel guilty for resting, remind yourself, you're not quitting. You're preparing. Because warriors don't rest out of weakness. They rest out of strategy. When you master this, your energy changes. You stop chasing urgency. You start radiating control. You no longer say, I'm tired. You say, I'm recharging. You no longer fear breaks. You use them as weapons. And suddenly, burnout disappears. Because now your hustle has rhythm. Your strength has balance. Your life has flow. So rest like a warrior. Recover like a professional. And rise like someone who's built for the long war, not the short rush. Because the disciplined mind doesn't sprint through life. It marches with purpose. Resting, rising, recovering, repeating. That's the cycle of mastery. You've learned how to refuel your body and soul. How to rest without guilt. How to recover with precision. Now, in the next chapter we go even deeper. Beyond action, beyond control. Into the quiet core of inner strength. Chapter 9. Stillness is strength. The power of inner calm. Silence isn't weakness. Stillness isn't surrender. Calm isn't comfort, it's control. In a world addicted to noise, stillness is rebellion. In a culture that celebrates constant movement, peace is power. Because when the world shouts, the strong stay silent. When chaos hits, the wise stay still. And in that stillness, they see everything. Let's get one truth out of the way. You don't need to move fast to make progress. You need to move right. And the only way to move right is to first become still. Stillness is not the absence of action. It's the preparation for perfect action. Think about it. The archer doesn't shoot while moving. He stands. He breathes. He centers himself. And only when his body is completely still does he release the arrow. That's what stillness is. A weapon disguised as rest. But here's the problem. Most people can't sit still. They're afraid of silence. Afraid of being alone with their own thoughts. So they fill every second with distraction. Music, messages, noise, endless scrolling. They think movement equals meaning. They think noise equals importance. But what they're really doing is running from themselves. Let me say it again, and I want this to hit you hard. You cannot master the outer world until you master your inner world. If your mind is a storm, your decisions will be chaos. If your emotions rule you, your performance will betray you. You can't lead, create, or win from a place of noise. That's the truth most people avoid. Stillness isn't about doing nothing. It's about hearing everything that actually matters. When you are still, you start to see. You see your triggers. You see your patterns. You see what's real and what's just noise. Stillness turns confusion into clarity. It turns reaction into response. It turns chaos into command. That's power. Let's talk about how to build it. Because stillness doesn't happen by accident. It's trained. It's earned. Just like muscle, just like focus. There are 3 laws of inner stillness. Law number 1, breathe before you act. This is your anchor. The breath is the first tool of mastery. Because the breath is the bridge between mind and body. When you control your breath, you control your state. When you control your state, you control the situation. You can't think clearly when you're flooded with adrenaline. You can't choose wisely when your heart is racing. So what do the disciplined do? They pause. They inhale through the nose. Exhale slowly. And in those 3 seconds, emotion loses its grip. That's where your power begins. In the pause. Repeat this phrase until it's instinct. I breathe. I see. I decide. That's the discipline of stillness. Law number 2, detach from outcomes. Most people are addicted to results. They want control over everything, timing, reactions, validation. And when life doesn't match their expectations, they spiral. But detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care deeply, but you refuse to be ruled by results. You give your best and let go of the rest. You play your part and trust the process. When you stop obsessing over outcomes, you stop living in fear. Because fear comes from attachment. Peace comes from presence. You don't control the wind. You only control the sail. And that's the power of stillness. It keeps you steady, no matter how wild the storm gets. Law number 3, observe without judgment. This one is crucial. Most people live trapped inside their thoughts. They believe every feeling, react to every idea, fight every shadow. But the master watches. He doesn't fight his thoughts, he observes them. He doesn't drown in emotions, he studies them. When anger rises, he says, I see you. When fear whispers, he says, I feel you. And when ego speaks, he says, not today. That's the mindset of stillness. Awareness without attachment. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who watches them. Stillness isn't glamorous. It doesn't get applause. No one will praise you for sitting in silence. But that silence builds something no one can see. Unshakable control. Stillness gives you an advantage that chaos never will. When everyone else is panicking, you're thinking clearly. When everyone else is reacting, you're responding with precision. That's what separates professionals from amateurs. That's what separates leaders from followers. That's what separates peace from panic. Let me give you a simple rule. Be still when it's loud. When emotions rise, be still. When people provoke you, be still. When opportunity excites you, be still before you say yes. Because the disciplined mind knows. Every decision made in emotion will cost you twice. Stillness protects your energy. It guards your focus. It saves you from regret. That's strength. There's a reason ancient warriors meditated before battle. They weren't seeking comfort. They were calibrating. Because you can't hit a moving target. And your mind is no different. The mind that can't be still, can't aim. The mind that can't be calm, can't command. So when the world spins fast, slow yourself down. When people shout louder, lower your voice. When everything feels urgent, pause. Because power lives in the pause. Here's the paradox. The quieter you become, the louder your results speak. The calmer you stay, the more chaos obeys. You stop chasing control, because you already are in control. That's the shift. That's the secret. That's the real strength. Stillness doesn't mean the battle stops. It means the battlefield moves inside you. And you're winning there first. Remember this. The storm isn't outside you. It starts inside you. And so does the calm. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf them. You can't control the wind, but you can command your sail. And the sailor who stays calm when the sea rages, that's the one who always makes it home. That's who you must become. Be the calm in every chaos. Be the silence in every storm. Be the still point that holds everything together. Because real confidence isn't loud. Real power doesn't need to prove itself. Real strength is stillness. You've learned how to find your center, how to see through noise, how to command emotion instead of being commanded by it. Now it's time to take this mastery outward, to live with balance, precision, and purpose in motion. Chapter 10. Flow like water, the freedom of adaptability. You've learned control. You've learned calm. Now it's time to learn movement. Because mastery isn't about standing still. It's about knowing when to move. You've seen the ones who refuse to adapt. Rigid, proud, unbending. They break. They always break. The strong survive not because they resist change, but because they become change. That's the secret. That's the code. The unshakable mind flows like water. Water never fights the rock. It moves around it. It doesn't complain. It doesn't resist. It adapts, adjusts, and eventually, it carves its own path through stone. That's what you must become. Not rigid. Not reactive. But fluid, intentional, unstoppable. It's not about being passive. It's about being precise. Because power without flexibility is fragility. Listen closely. Life will test you. Every season will shift. Every plan will crack. Every certainty will fade. The question is never, will it happen? The question is, who will you be when it does? The disciplined mind adapts. The weak mind complains. When the market changes, the strong evolve. When people leave, the strong rebuild. When plans collapse, the strong rewrite the plan. Because discipline isn't about control over everything. It's about control over your response to everything. That's the key. You can't control the wave. You can only learn to surf it. The world rewards adaptability. Always has. Always will. Nature proves it. The strongest species aren't the biggest or fastest. They're the ones who adapt, again and again without losing purpose. The same law applies to your life, your mind, your mission. Adapt or collapse. Flow or fracture. That's reality. You see, adaptability isn't softness. It's strategy. It's the art of survival in a world that never stops changing. Most people get stuck because they fall in love with how things were. They fight for the past instead of building the future. But the ones who rise, the ones who lead, they don't cling to old versions of themselves. They upgrade. Constantly. They ask, what is this moment teaching me? What skill is being demanded of me right now? Because every challenge has one question behind it. Can you evolve fast enough to stay useful? That's what separates those who last from those who fade. You have a choice. You can fight the current or you can flow with it. You can complain about the storm or you can learn to sail it. You can wish for easy waters or you can become the kind of sailor who conquers rough seas. That's what water teaches you. It doesn't fear the storm. It becomes the storm. That's adaptability, strength in motion. Let's make this real. In your own life, adaptability means three things. 1. Detach from how, stay loyal to why. Your methods will change. Your mission won't. Every great player, every great leader knows this. When the game changes, change your strategy, not your standards. The problem is, most people confuse tools with purpose. They worship routines instead of results. You must stay loyal to your why, your reason, and flexible with your how. That's how professionals evolve. That's how legacies are built. Remember, it's not about perfection. It's about progress. 2. Let failure recalibrate you, not define you. You're going to fail. Many times. And that's fine as long as you use it. Failure isn't the end. It's feedback. It's the data that helps you adjust your aim. Amateurs let failure break them. Masters let failure shape them. Every miss is information. Every mistake is an instruction. You don't need to start over. You need to start smarter. Repeat this until it becomes instinct. Failure refines me. It doesn't define me. That's adaptability. 3. Move like water, slow when needed, fierce when it's time. Water doesn't rush, but it never stops. It moves with timing. It flows with intelligence. Sometimes your discipline means waiting. Sometimes it means striking. Both are forms of strength. The discipline don't move out of impulse. They move out of alignment. You don't chase, you flow. You don't panic, you pivot. You don't drown, you redirect. That's mastery in motion. Let me remind you, adaptability doesn't mean weakness. It means you're too smart to fight every battle. Too strategic to cling to one way of doing things. Too focused to waste time on resistance. The rigid break. The fluid rise. Because flexibility is not surrender. It's power disguised as patience. Think of every storm you've survived. Every plan that failed. Every door that closed. And still you're here. That's adaptability. That's proof. The universe rewards those who stay in motion. Not those who freeze when things change. It's not about luck. It's about flow. You can't control the current, but you can become the current. You must stop seeing change as an interruption. See it as an invitation. An invitation to grow, to evolve, to test how flexible your mind truly is. Most people pray for stability, but the great ones, they pray for resilience. They know that comfort breeds weakness. That chaos reveals who's ready. So when life shifts, good. Shift with it. Move like water. Stay in control of your shape even when the container changes. That's the art of adaptability. And when you live this way, you stop fearing uncertainty. You start thriving in it. You stop forcing. You start flowing. You stop breaking. You start becoming. Because life isn't about balance, it's about rhythm. It's about knowing when to stand, when to bend, when to move. That's the flow state. That's the zone. And that's where discipline turns into freedom. Remember this final truth. The river never stops moving. It bends, it curves, it adapts, and eventually it reaches the ocean. That's you. That's your life. You'll face pressure, resistance, change. But if you stay fluid, you'll find your flow. So keep moving, keep learning, keep becoming. Because adaptability isn't just a skill. It's the proof that you're still growing. And that's the mark of true mastery. You've learned control. You've learned calm. You've learned focus. And now you've learned to flow. That's the final piece. That's the art of batting. That's the art of living. This is your moment. Flow like water. Become unstoppable.